Assalamu alaikum ji. Welcome back to another episode of Kahe, Kazi. My guest today was Taabir. Taabir is a yoga instructor. She is also a student at IVS. We get to speaking about what governs her need to be financially independent, about the philosophy and the spiritual ramifications of yoga, about what plagues our fitness industry in Karachi, in Pakistan more generally, and about what causes ill-fated, spectacle-based attempts at validation and significance in public. Enjoy. 3, 2, 1. Taabir. How are you doing, Taabir?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. We're going to pretend now that we've not been speaking for 15 minutes.
We haven't been speaking for.
You just sat down. That's what happened.
I walked straight in. I didn't even say hi to you.
No, of course not. Why would you say hello? That doesn't make any sense.
You're irrelevant to this podcast. This is my podcast.
Of course it is. I mean, I don't even know why it's called Kahe, Kazi.
Why are you here?
I don't know. I have nowhere else to. I live here. I do. What's it called? What's it called? So let's start with a brief intro because nahi to everyone listening gets really worked up because I just start talking to people.
Okay.
And then
it offends them like personally.
ये कौन है ये? क्यों बात कर रहा है इससे? Like he's just a person that I'm talking to. Give me an introduction of what you do. Like you told me.
Okay. It was quite rambly, but I'm a yoga instructor. I also work with a gym. I am an artist and probably 500 more things. 500
more things. Very exciting. And you study also, you said?
Yes, I'm also a student at IVS.
At IVS. Let's start there actually because I did mention कि मैंने यही सुना है कि that's a shit show.
Yeah.
With respect to IVS. I've never studied there, but...
Yes, all due respect because I have to be there for 4 years. Please don't get offended.
Allah रहम करेगा. तो जो है वो but it's I have heard from everyone who's graduated that it was the most difficult thing, right, that they've done, and not just the most difficult thing they've done, but markedly the most difficult schooling experience in Karachi, in Pakistan. What do you say?
Honestly, so what I was not telling you earlier because we haven't been talking.
Of course not.
What I was telling you earlier was that so I did speak to a lot of students. I explored quite a bit at IVS in the first few weeks. Anybody that I met that has a career that needs to be balanced with their education, they seem to be doing okay. Like they're dying just like me, but somehow they're managing their schoolwork and their university, whereas other students who are just students seem to be having it worse for some reason. And I don't know if that's a upbringing problem, a discipline problem. I think it might just be the schooling system here, like O-levels, A-levels, and beforehand, because the education is so based on sitting and memorizing. Whereas if you go anywhere abroad, even the primary, secondary education is very critical thinking, creative thinking, practical work. So those students don't have as much of an issue with such difficult universities, I feel.
Okay.
Difficult.
Of course. And also, is there room for the opinion, which is what I've held for the longest time, कि if you're going to go into work, well, work is markedly more difficult, more toxic, more just worse than any school, right? So when you're kind of tolerating work or existing in the real world, real life, then school seems like a sanctuary, no matter how difficult it is. It could be grueling, right? Like you said, but it seems like a sanctuary. कि यार यहाँ पे this system is geared to basically cater to my needs. That's what a schooling system is.
Yeah.
And if it's ineffective, that's one thing. Then it's an ineffective schooling system. But IVS produces some of the best architects, or some of the best, talent or people or people
well-rounded, developed
individuals, humans, yes, humans. But some of the best, most developed humans in Karachi, in Pakistan.
I do agree with that. Yes.
So clearly, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
So the instruction could be on point.
I think part of that is the crazy amount of like torture that they provide that students here are not used to. So, they come in and they're like, oh my God, I have to work for like 6 hours straight and then go home and do homework more. Like they're so not used to that I think IVS providing that is a big deal. It creates that discipline needed to enter the workforce because that is how you get ahead in life. Unfortunately, you work past 9 to 5, a lot of the times.
Very un-yoga yoga yoga person. I
Very
was gonna say,
hustle culture,
a
which
yoga
I don't.
person, very toxic positivity and stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know what are you doing here. But tell me what degree you're in.
So I want to go into communication design, but I'm only in my foundation year, so I'm kind of exploring at this point.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was interested in fine arts in the beginning.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted to learn a technical skill that I don't already know. And I think that understanding website design and graphic design and all of these more technical computery things is a better use of my time and finances.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think
Another very non-yogi, very practical, logical
very
decision.
a little too practical. I really was thinking that we were only going to discuss philosophy, and that might kick
I'm
in.
down for that,
like
yeah.
2 hours later, also philosophy. But as of right now, we're on the grind. We are hustling.
The grind, yeah.
But I do feel this. Lots of people will ask me because I wear glasses. I suppose I don't know why.
So are you? They think you're smart?
They think they can ask me because they think I'm old. Is that why?
I've never had this issue.
But because you're not old,
Yeah.
I am. So so they'll come up and they'll be like, "We want to go abroad. We want to go abroad for studies, for education, right? Do you recommend it?" And I'm
Once you
like,
care
"Well,
about that,
immediately the first question is, well, what are you going to study?
Yeah,
right?
of
Because
course.
if you're going to make your money back, go right ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But if you're going to do something like, so I did professional writing and philosophy. While that's a fine degree, I also had the passport for Canada. So I was charged financially. I was charged as a local student.
Okay.
Makes more sense. If I was an international student, they would charge me 3 to 4 times more. 3 to 4 times
That's
more.
ridiculous.
That is ridiculous, right? And the thing is, I'm not even speaking on Canada's prerogative to charge foreign students. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm talking about is it's gonna cost me that much. If it's gonna cost me that much,
Is it worth it?
is it worth it?
Actually sit there and do your accounts and be like, how long would it take me to earn back this degree?
Earn back that degree, exactly.
It really is that simple.
Because they're gonna some of these costs come upwards of $53,000 Canadian or US in a year. When are you gonna make that money back? In today's day and age, in this economy, in this market, I mean, how are you gonna make that money back with an undergrad degree?
Yeah.
In writing.
And philosophy. What a great practical degree you
बस देखें आप,
chose.
मैं तो माशाल्लाह से
Yeah.
आपको तो पता है. Anyhow, so I do feel कि that is I think it's beyond your years that you think like that. Very good, mashallah.
Well, I've been working since I was 16 actually. So
So what informed that decision?
my just financial situation at the time.
Okay.
So even for university now, I pay for it myself.
Alhamdulillah.
Which is, I think, one of the reasons why my IVS experience is not going as bad as it could, because I decided to communicate that to my teachers. Because I did hear about IVS that this was like, never tell IVS the teachers or the admin that you work because they want IVS to be your life. Don't even mention it in the interview. My interview is a whole story, by the way. If I could just go off
Please
on a
do.
tangent.
Ek minute, let me just set this mic up.
Okay.
A little better.
Okay.
And now I encourage you to go on this tangent
Okay.
with as much detail and examples as possible.
I was in the mountains.
We're in the mountains.
Yeah,
Great.
I was
I love it.
part of a yoga retreat. I was one of the yoga teachers there. And
How old were you?
oh, this was last year. So 21.
At 21, you're a yoga teacher leading a retreat.
I was one of the yoga teachers.
Leading the retreat.
I guess, yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, mashallah.
I guess. I never even thought about this, by the way.
Sorry. But mountains, ye apne Pakistan ke?
Yeah. We
Okay.
were up in Hunza.
Okay.
And I had my interview. And I had this whole thing planned with my boss, with the guys there, the hotel dudes. I was like, listen, like Wi-Fi is an issue. We're going to have to make this work. Everybody bring all your Wi-Fi routers from all the neighboring houses. We should have no issues with this. This is the IVS interview.
Yeah.
IVS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
15 minutes into the interview, the electricity goes.
Aapki.
Huh.
Oh.
We end up having to use, I don't remember what the system is or how they were able to do this. I guess the phone signal of one of the drivers. He was like, okay, we can use my phone signal. I can somehow give you hotspot. Then you get your laptop back on. Ye wo. imagine this was mid-interview. I have no explanation for what is happening, okay? And I did not tell them that I'm in the mountains because I was told that, IVS should be your life. Why were you in the mountains? Why
Are
were
you
you not
crazy?
in the city?
Why are you breathing? you only breathe
you
in
clearly
IVS.
do not care about this school. So I was
Have
like,
you eaten at the cafeteria? No.
So I was like, oh my God, I can't tell them that I'm in the mountains. What the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
I ended up, so we got in the van, very edge of the cliff. I mean, the front tires are just on the very edge, that cusp of the cliff to get that signal. Wi-Fi, I'm leaning at the very end of it and I'm like, oh, hello, I don't know why the electricity went off. I'm just sitting in my room. Pata nahi kya, you know, Karachi internet, yaar.
Okay.
I was like, these issues, man. I don't know. So what were you asking me? Yes, IVS is my life.
I will live, breathe IBS, of course.
But I did honestly tell them, I was like, listen, I work in order to pay for this school. And if that doesn't show dedication, then I don't know, bye. And they accepted me.
Yeah. I mean, and also, but here's the thing, right? Paying for anything for yourself is, I think, the epitome of empowerment. You can sit there and armchair philosophize your way through all sorts of feminisms and women empowerment and Marxism and all those things. That's all theory.
Yeah.
Until you don't pay for yourself, right? There's just like, you can empower your mind. You sure can, but financial liberation is one of the most fundamental tenets of...
This is what I tell everybody in my life because I have so many people who have familial issues and coming from a similar background, that might be off topic, but coming from a similar background, I said the only thing that provided me freedom to do and say what I want and not be under any type of abuse or anything was to become financially free.
That's it.
Nobody can say anything to you then.
Right.
No one has any control over you.
Nope.
So I completely agree with that. And you learn to value what you are paying for.
Sure.
When somebody else is paying for your education, which is a gift and a blessing, and if that is offered to you, amazing. But if you are paying for it yourself, you take those classes seriously.
That, and also you feel like you want to get what you're owed.
Yeah.
Because you're paying it for yourself, right?
I'm like, you sit here and you teach me.
Please do, because I'm paying and it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But ek tarike se, I think it's interesting that you said that it's a gift, right? It is a privilege. I don't know if it's a gift. Right? Because privilege though it is, right? And sure, the person doing it for you might understand it to
out
be
of love,
of course, everything, all the goodness.
But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but is it a gift though? Like, if my parents, misal de raha hu, if my parents nerfed my surroundings to the point where I go to a university campus and someone says, Kazi, what you believe might not be true, I get so upset that it affects me physically. Did they give me a gift? Do you know, like, I mean, that's obviously a crude example because I want to prove my point. But do you know what I mean? So is that a gift at that point then?
I genuinely agree with that. I see where you're coming from. And it is a completely different perspective that I see as well, that, I'm very, very happy for any of my friends that have been able to get into big universities because of funding, which is great. Congratulations. Your parents were able to pay for you. But what I've seen is a lack of drive, a lack of ambition, a lack of a lot of things because they were just handed this.
Well, they're disenfranchised existentially, right? They don't take responsibility for themselves, essentially.
And they're unhappy deeply.
Of course.
Deep down, they're unhappy and unfulfilled.
Yes, because lots of philosophers and psychotherapists will say one of the fundamental tenets of fighting nihilism or depression or any of these really, really horrible things is to find what gives your life meaning. It doesn't have to be anything that is understood societally to be meaning governing, right? People are like, tum deen se dur ho gaye ho. Why do they say that? Well, it's a colloquialism, right? And they don't maybe understand what they're saying, but what it is meant to explain to you is your life doesn't have meaning anymore.
Yeah.
Religion was meant to give your life meaning. Yoga could do it too. I'm not comparing the two. I really am not, right? But similarly, if you sustaining yourself does not give your life meaning, I mean, आप क्या कर रहे हो, boss? Like,
क्या कर रहे हो,
आप
यार?
कर क्या रहे हो, guys? IVS, आप क्या कर रहे हो, guys? You know? You know what I mean? I mean, it's a different thing, man. And so I am, so I'm not happy that you had to start working at 16. No one should have to, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like, looking back, or even if you look around right now, even if you look ahead, in fact, you look at people older than you, you're just better equipped than them.
Yeah, and the thing is, so I tend to get along very well. Like 90% of my friends are like 29, 30, 31 and older. Like 90% of them.
Okay.
But even them, there's a handful of them whom I love, but they've said it to me themselves. They're like, I have all this money, I have all this, but none of it is mine. My life has no meaning and my life sucks. And I'm like, Ya Allah. They're like, and you know what it is? And you know when this happens? At parties.
Sure, when they're inebriated.
Because somebody mentions from somewhere from above that, hey, this girl is a yogi, and in their drunk situation they're just like, this girl will save my life.
She will understand everything.
You're a yogi, why am I depressed?
Right. Sure.
Why do I cry myself to sleep every night? And I'm like, I don't know.
I really don't know. I'm just trying to dance here.
I'm just trying to no, but you come sit with me. Tell me now. Tell me why I'm broken.
Imagine कोई मानू का हसन रहीम का गाना चल रहा है. Like, तू मेरी आरज़ू, और he's like, मैं टूट क्यों रहा हूँ?
मेरी आरज़ू कहाँ है?
आरज़ू ही नहीं.
This is what happens, and I don't know what to do about it. Like, I just sit there, and like it ends up being a 2-hour conversation. I'm sitting on the couch with this person, and sometimes it does. I'm pretty positive, they're just like, I don't know what to. The last conversation I had, they were like, I don't know what to do with my life. Like, I want to do something for myself. And I sat there and I was like, I don't know you, but I feel deep in my soul that you're an intelligent and capable person. This person is incoherent,
of course,
at this point.
Yeah.
They are just
slurring their words.
and I'm like, I believe in you with my whole heart. And they're like, you're really nice. What's your Instagram?
That's how you've been getting followers. Hey, man, you gotta hustle. What are you gonna do?
There was this one guy, same thing, deep stories. We had a whole conversation. So a lot of people also like to speak to me on the aspect of love. Not just romantic love, but familial, platonic, whatever. Because as a yogi,
you know love.
Yogi, I know love.
You're best friends
am
with
love.
You are love. Come on.
So I had a whole conversation with him, and it was a very insightful conversation. I was actually enjoying it with this drunk man.
Of course.
And then he's like, I have never felt a connection like this before.
Oh no.
Do you want to go to the bathroom? I'm like, no sir, I don't.
No, I'm good.
ऐसा love नहीं चाहिए अभी यार. क्या हो गया है? अल्लाह माफ करे.
That's a lot, but I think a couple of things there, right? So one, I obviously do want to get into what it is to be perceived as a yogi. What is a yogi, and then all the multiple paradigms of what governs yoga practice in Karachi, because as of late, there's been a lot. There's been a rise in yoga parlors and yogis doing all sorts of... And Instagram, dude, it's the age of the internet, right? So
Yeah.
And everyone can bend. Whoever can bend is obviously a yogi. Who knows the difference? I don't, right? But before that, I think ये जो आपके साथ होता है ना, a lot of people, because, whether you apply psychotherapeutic approaches to this or existentialist philosophy, excuse me, oof.
Should have done that into the mic, man.
Absolutely should have, right? Damn it, wasted it. But a lot of it, most of it, comes from them, right? It has very little to do with who they're talking to. It's just that they feel this deep void in them,
Yes.
right? And a lot of them, आप Instagram lives पे चले जाओ, आप इस podcast के comment section में इंशाल्लाह ये भी जब publish हो जाए इसमें भी देख लेना, वैसे देख लो. Lots of people will say outlandish things just to be noticed.
Yeah.
Because they feel so insignificant.
Yes.
They feel so absolutely unrecognized and invalidated. Or validated to invalid, कि really they'll say whatever. They'll say, like, the most recent thing that happened to me, I was on live and, I'll go off on rants, right? But most of them are pretty normal. मैं गाली वाली नहीं दे रहा हूँ तो किसी को. I'm just like, if you could just all come together, and we could just make each other
Yeah.
better, and
If we could all just love each other.
yeah, we just love each other, and Elton John, right? And this person comes on and he's like, Kazi bhai, right? Kazi bhai bol raha hai mujhe. I'm like, okay,
Respect.
yeah, just give me a blowjob. And I'm just
Kazi
like,
bhai.
yeah. And I got, so this was a build up. 2-3 दफा इस बंदे ने ये काम किया हुआ था already, right? And I got worked up. So मैंने उसको live ले लिया. I was like, wait, come on live with me.
Show me your face and
Sure.
say,
Yeah.
"Bitch."
No, I mean, pehli baat, that I would say, do it to me in person, and then we'll see what happens, right? Whatever happens, happens. Allah rahm karega. But like, do you not have affection in your life? Like, do you not have love? Do you
Did
not
you
have
ask him
appreciation?
this?
Oh yeah, all that. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
shit.
हाँ फिर मैं थोड़ा aggressive हो गया because यार come on, उसमें लाइव में ख़वातीन भी हैं. उस लाइव में हम बात कर रहे हैं about how यही education की बात कर रहे हैं about how पढ़ाई needs to sustain you, needs to be feasible.
और इसमें भाई को blow job
Oh,
चाहिए था.
भाई को exactly, and so I asked him, I'm like, do you even know, like, do you know what it feels like to copulate, or any of those things? And he's just like, नहीं मैं तो ऐसे ही बोल दिया. मैंने बोला अच्छा ठीक है ना, आपने ऐसे बोल दिया ना, कोई गाली गलोच नहीं. क्यों बोला? Did you like, is this what you wanted? Because this is
You wanted
like
attention, ना? तो मिल
this
गया.
is the height of attention. In this life I cannot give you any more attention.
Yeah.
Right? And then he was, because the thing is, one of the greatest tragedies that could ever befall you is you get everything you ever wanted.
Oh yeah.
Right? So lots of people want to be leading yoga retreats or creating content, but you don't really know what it is to do those things, right?
Have you read Plato's Symposium?
I have
You're a
not read.
philosophy student, so.
Yeah, I skipped that one. I read The Republic.
Acha.
I was like, Symposium kaun padhta hai? But that's when he was right before he died. No? He
I'm
was
not
about
sure
to take
about
the
that
poison.
much. I like how now it's becoming like a who has the bigger dick contest.
I mean, clearly.
Do I know more about philosophy or do you know more about philosophy?
Imagine I actually take this personally and start.
So do you know the Marxist like?
आपने होमी बाबा पढ़ा है कभी? You literally just
मेरी
made
फट
that
जाती है.
up. You just made that up. That's nothing.
And I just play हाँ मैंने पढ़ा है.
पढ़ा है. Just
अब बताओ.
जाने दो. No, Homi Baba is actually not a made-up person.
Okay.
But
I believe you.
हाँ, symposium मैंने नहीं पढ़ा.
Okay, so it was a whole talk about. So a symposium is just these all these drunk Greek philosophers. Why do we keep coming back to this alcohol system?
I don't know.
All these drunk Greek philosophers getting together and being like, "Yeah, man, philosophy."
They're all jacked, huh? The portraits are all just jacked.
In my head, they're all jacked. That's the only way I can read this shit.
You just have Socrates 8-pack. What are you doing, dude? This is jacked. और आप अपने कंटेम्पररी वालों को सोचो, बेचारे मार्क्स मोटू, नीचे मोटू, कैबू जो है
irrelevant, they don't know.
हाँ, कैबू जो है बेचारा, he died of tuberculosis, and Sartre is like some weird French guy, but all these guys just jacked.
So all these jacked drunk dudes were talking about what love is to them, and they were all just like homies, as homies do.
Worse. Yeah.
So they were talking about, so I think Socrates was mentioning near the end of this symposium that love is basically the spirit between what you want and what you cannot have. So it's the spirit between life and death, between being a poor man and wanting wealth and things like that. Okay. So I don't know what the point was that I was making, but when you said this, I thought, oh, Plato's Symposium, now I'll show how smart I am.
Now I will mention Plato. Philosophy पढ़ के आया.
I've been waiting my whole life. I've read one philosophy book.
Hey, यार पर पता है क्या? So Plato का ये scene था कि Plato never actually spoke about himself. So there was Socrates, Plato, and then Aristotle. Aristotle was Plato's student.
Yeah.
Right? And Plato supposedly was taught by Socrates, but no one ever saw Socrates. People know Socrates through Plato's work.
Oh.
Plato never wrote about himself.
Wow.
Right? And so Socrates would go off on all these tangents, have all these debates with people, but no one ever actually knew if Socrates was a... And some would argue that was Plato introducing... the method to really challenge autocratic or tyrannical regimes.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's like, नहीं तो Socrates actually कोई बंदा थोड़ी है. Socrates है, he's a fictional character. मैं तो play लिखा है boy. क्या chill हो जाओ, क्या हो गया? मैं तो कुछ, you know, क्यों नाराज क्यों हो रहे हो? क्या हो गया? Right?
क्या हो गया यार?
And so at the end of Socrates' career through Plato's eyes, he actually debated someone on religion. And so I don't know if it was the Congress or what was it. The people, at the assembly or what have you, they decided he should kill himself. Right? So they're like, you're going to drink poison. And so the most prolific speech about, what is virtue, what it is to lead a good life, or, go off and, live a virtuous life or whatever, comes right at the end, right before he's going to drink poison. And Socrates talks about, what it is to actually be a virtuous person is to just be at home with virtue. To be the sort of person for whom it is not a chore to be virtuous.
Yeah.
You know?
You
Stuff
wanna
of this
embody
sort.
that.
Yeah. And so it's super cool. Okay, this dude, I don't know if he existed or didn't. I mean, ek baat suno waise. To be fair, this guy never, cleaned up, right? He didn't have any money. He would get into all these debates and he was jacked like that.
Yeah. That's my question too.
है ना? मतलब क्या ये क्या बात हुई? अब ये गलत, वहाँ पे स्टेरॉइड्स भी थे उस जमाने पे.
I was just gonna say.
Nonsense.
पैसे नहीं थे, steroids थे.
No. That's why he didn't have money.
All the money went to steroids.
Solved. Moving on.
Man, we are the next
Yeah, of
great
course.
philosophers.
Of course we are. Come on now. We've read all of 2 books. The Republic and Symposium.
Done.
Come on, क्या चाहिए आपको? But yeah, speaking of steroids, what's the yoga culture like in Pakistan?
Do you take steroids, ma'am?
People, देखो, पता है क्या? What's interesting is, again, people will have all these stigmas around, steroids लेने चाहिए, नहीं लेने चाहिए. People don't understand. People who take steroids work twice as hard as the rest of us.
Oh, yes.
Oh
my
at least,
God. Their workouts are ridiculous.
Yeah. Because what steroids do is not make you bigger. So all steroids do is enable faster recovery. So you can destroy yourself
More often.
Exactly, right? And people don't get that. People are like, oh, it's easier if you take steroids. Why don't you take steroids? Pump me full
See
of
what
steroids. See what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not going to become The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock's also working out 3 times a day.
It's insane, and they eat like crazy, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of issues, and they cycle. Performance enhancing drugs is like a whole, like, I have no issues with it, but I do tell my friends, my idiot friends who are my age, the boys, I'm like, why? Because they're like, we're just going to take steroids, and I'm like, what is that gonna do for you, bro?
I don't know.
Unless you're a high level athlete,
Yeah.
a professional athlete of any sort, a bodybuilder, or I don't know, like any of the Olympic sports, please don't.
Yeah. And even then, right? My moral understanding of steroids is such. As long as you're not in a combat sport, right? Because if you and I are the same weight class, same everything, the assumption is, weight classes क्यों होते हैं? The assumption is कि आप में और मेरे में inherently कोई फर्क नहीं है.
Yeah.
It'll be dependent on our skills, right? But if I am an enhanced athlete,
And at that weight.
that's unfair.
Yeah.
That's unfair and I could hurt you.
Yeah.
Besides that, dude, go ham. Like, just be careful. Like, go through a doctor. But absolutely, man, take all the steroids if you need to.
Yeah, I agree. This is what we learned from our philosophy books.
Of course.
Yeah.
Socrates ने बोला था ये, पता नहीं आपको?
Yes.
अब मैं भी Socrates को ना हर चीज़ पे लगा दूंगा यार. देखो,
ये Socrates ने बोला था ना यार.
आपको तो पता है ना कि वो जो इमरान खान है, उनको क्यों वोट करना चाहिए? आपको क्यों? Why should you vote for Imran Khan? Socrates.
No further.
Socrates. Come
Bas.
on. Anyhow, so how did you get into yoga?
I actually started yoga when I was around 12. My mother, I sound like a prodigy.
No, I mean, I said that already. At 21, if you're leading a retreat, I mean, I don't need to call you a prodigy if you're uncomfortable with it.
No, I'm not.
You're a prodigy. Please do.
Please compliment me.
In the description, Taabir is a yoga prodigy. And we spoke about philosophy.
Oh my God, who's gonna watch that? Add steroids, philosophers on steroids, drunk people. Add all this into the description.
She was also once asked to go to the bathroom. That's so weird.
Yes.
Dude, I mean, पता है क्या? One of the problems with our muashara is that there's dissonance, right? So we don't want to admit कि ये सब यहाँ होता है, right?
बहुत होता है.
And because we don't want to admit कि ये सब यहाँ होता है, there's no conventions governing this stuff, right? Because usually at these parties abroad, there are conventions कि boss ये अगर आपने ऐसी बात की without confirming how old or young this person is, you're getting into trouble.
Oh,
Here,
yeah.
because people don't even, like your family doesn't even know you're there. Do you know what I mean?
It's chilling. My mom knew.
like, you know, but with most girls, right? 17, 18, whatever, dressed up, mashallah se jo bhi hai, and they go to these, I mean, choti hai na? They go to these parties, right? Their parents don't know they're there, right? And there's no conventions governing that interaction, right? So of course the people in power are going to get away with most of these things.
Oh yeah, and I've
you know?
seen it. I've almost been a victim to it a few times.
Allah rahm kare.
But I don't know how. I definitely cannot say names. But a lot of these older men in power, in media, in fashion.
No.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
they're terrible.
Yeah.
And they're very pushy and they're predators, and it's very scary. Because if you're a girl who, like, if they would have gotten to me even 6 months prior to when they did, like, I don't think I would have had the strength to stand my ground.
But that's the other thing, right? Consent is not really, well, I mean, just anything around sex is not discussed.
Oh,
You just don't
yeah.
talk about it, right? And if you don't talk about it, if you don't educate girls about their rights, about how this stuff happens, because guess what? It happens.
It does.
And it's going to go down, right? So how is this person or this young person supposed to know that I can say no? Or that in
Yeah.
fact,
That
it is
there's
not my
nothing
job
wrong
to
with
say
it.
yes all the time.
They also end up putting their value in sex, right? Because even in relationships and stuff now, it's a part of it. It
Yeah.
has to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like if you are somebody who values it, I am someone who values it. But there's a lot of people who are not ready for that and they're not comfortable yet, and that's fair. You don't know their story behind it. There's
No, of
stories of
course.
abuse or just asexuality or whatever, and they're ridiculed here because here it's not so.
Yeah.
Men are just incredibly pushy.
Yeah. Especially in those, वही वाली बात है, in those ungoverned places with no conventions. Like, अच्छा देखो ना, इसमें मैं ये नहीं, I'm not taking any blame away from these people, by the way, these men, right?
Yeah.
But what I am saying is, you're asking for trouble. Na? If you're going to be like Socrates and expect everyone to be a virtuous subject, then they're going to ask you eventually to drink poison. That's what happened,
Yeah.
right? आप ये नहीं expect कर सकते हो हर किसी से. No one should expect कि यार ये.
You can only control your own actions, no? At the end of the day.
Of course. But yeah, I don't know how we got here. We were going to start talking about you being a prodigy.
What were we talking? How did we start this
Jeez,
conversation?
dude.
This got really heavy. I swear this was so light before the
It was
mics
really,
turned on.
Yeah, and then oh, yeah, exactly. Before the mics turned on.
Mics turned back on, and then we're like, okay, so death and,
so
and
देखिए,
sex and Socrates.
Yeah, and so love कैसे होता है? What's it? So your mom, you said, was into yoga. Was she a yogi though?
So my mother was not into yoga. My mother's best friend was an Ayurvedic specialist. So my mother at the time had a severe health condition.
Okay.
Trying to make this really like light because it's not a sad story.
Okay.
She's fine now.
Okay, alhamdulillah. But yeah, don't try to make it a light.
So she had a very severe health condition, and it's interesting because it was one of those things. I don't believe in coincidences anymore.
Okay.
So she had gone and she had prayed or whatever, and then she had gotten into the car, turned on the radio, and the person on the radio was this Ayurvedic specialist during an interview,
wow.
such as this one.
Yeah.
And so she just was like, okay, well, the doctors are saying there's nothing they can do. So science is not on my side. Let's try this.
Uh-huh.
And-
Do you want to talk about what the sickness was?
Honestly, it was just low platelet levels, and
Okay.
platelets are what clot your blood, na? So
Okay.
like, it's
Okay.
more, if your platelets drop too low, even a little cut, you could bleed out.
Yeah.
Doctors at that time were like, man, unless they get to like this level, we cannot do anything. But at the level they were saying is that level where you just start internally bleeding for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what was happening. So she went to this Ayurvedic specialist. Somehow they became besties. That as you do.
Of course.
She did get a lot better. That specialist somehow just saw something in me, and I am like this overly comical person, but I am deeply spiritual as well. So
Okay.
she had seen this in me, and she was like, at the age of 12, and she was like, I want you to meditate. And I was like,
At 12.
okay,
I
I'll
will
do it.
Yes, I will do it.
She's like, you're going to sit in a dark room with one candle. There's a mirror on either side, and you're just going to meditate.
Uh-huh.
You're a child. You have an active imagination.
Sure.
I saw shit.
I can imagine.
Whether that was visions, from the heavens, or whether that was a child's active imagination, I don't know. But oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I started yoga and stuff as well as a way to ground the crazy shit going on in my head. I'm not crazy, guys.
No. I didn't say anything.
He's like, I kind of want to, I don't know about this anymore.
or they cut to, so you're talking about this, they cut to me, I have a gun. I'm like, not taking any chances.
Sweating from everywhere.
नया एसी लगवाया था खराब हो गया है भाई अल्लाह रहम करे. What's it?
I am a deeply intuitive person. I haven't had visions in adulthood that I
Okay.
know of.
Okay.
But yeah, so I got into all of this stuff at a very young age, and I continued on with yoga on and off for quite some time. And it did make me more intuitive and whatnot. But a few years ago, I had left it for I don't know what reason.
You
I
stopped yoga?
I just kept going and coming back and going and coming
Okay,
back
okay.
to it. Like something kept calling me back to yoga.
Okay.
Eventually, though, the last time I came back was a couple of years ago, and ever since then, it has been a solid part of my life to the point where it's my identity. Like, again, random people at parties are like, oh, yogi.
Spiritual
Please
guide,
fix me.
leader, guru. Maybe
Babaji.
maybe don't take all of those things that you're taking. maybe just don't, like, maybe take one of them away. It's a thought, right? It's a thought.
Oh my God.
Maybe wo jo nahi hota, there's this joke by Ricky Gervais about how not clinical, but clinically obese people don't know what they're doing wrong, right? And so he's like, well, I mean,
That's true.
you ask them what they're doing, they're like, I only eat 12 quarter pounders a day.
Yes, no.
Eat 11.
Honestly, though, yeah, that's the first step. That's what I tell people also.
Yeah.
When it comes to the cocaine and the alcohol, I'm like, thoda sa kam kar lo, kuch nahi hota.
Try karo. But the problem again is, and here's why you should be very, not you, but like anyone should be very careful in giving these people advice, because you could actually die if you're addicted to alcohol and you quit cold turkey. You could kill yourself.
Yeah, I know. I honestly, so
Allah rahm kare.
even on terms of just the capability of quitting something where you're biologically addicted,
That's it.
you really shouldn't quit all at once, because you're not gonna. You're gonna come back to it if you survive.
Of course, if you survive.
Yeah. So I always say take baby steps.
Yeah.
And because you also want to make this a lifelong thing, even with simple things like your diet. Like, why are you switching to juices and protein shakes when you've been living off of burgers for 12 years?
Bro, dekh baat sun.
Am I attacking you on a personal level? Keto,
Keto हो जाएगा ना, फिर life set हो जाएगी. That's the thing.
Keto के बाद you'll get fat again, yo.
Exactly. That's what it is, right? Because people don't, and that again, I do want to get into how whimsical accreditations are here, and when it comes to like fitness specialists and all those things.
Yeah.
Lots of people just open up companies and straight up giving professing the truth that is keto, how keto will save your life, right? People don't understand the simple mechanisms of how you lose weight: calories in versus calories out.
That's it.
Right?
Thermodynamics.
Thermodynamics 101, right? They don't understand that when they're on keto, not only so they are eating 90% fats and then whatever 8% protein and 2% carbs. ऐसा कुछ करना होता है आपको. मतलब I am not sure about those last two, but most of it is fat. They don't understand they're also eating dramatically lower calories, and I say dramatically here consciously.
You're losing weight because you're in a deficit.
You're in a caloric deficit, right? There's people that are just like, I have friends, huge, like big men, right? Like I'm not talking about just fat, but the big guys, right? 6'3", like 250, 300 pounds, just a big human being, right? And he's on a steady 1,300 calories a day.
Oh.
I'm like, dude, listen to me. you're destroying yourself.
Dude, your hair will start falling
Yeah.
out. You have no energy. Your libido is gone. Like everything's gone.
Everything's gone, you're always irritable or you have no energy to work. Of course. Like 1300 calories and
You
people.
barely have any energy to just exist anymore.
Exactly. आप सिर्फ सांस लेने की भी energy होती है यार. And so, and I've not recently now, but I think a year ago I lost about 45 kilos.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Alhamdulillah. But again, and I say this to people as often as I can at the top of my lungs, I was eating close to 6 to 8,000 calories a day, right? And that'll do it, That'll so I was 125 kilos when I started the podcast, right?
Wow.
I am hovering around, as we speak right now, I think I'm 84.
That's amazing.
Alhamdulillah. But I dropped all the way down to 79.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And 79 is when I was in A levels, I was 79 kilos, right? So I dropped down, right? And people were like, how'd you do it? Tell us your workout routine. No, nothing, dude. Just a caloric deficit.
That's it.
But also be mindful of your vitamins and stuff.
Oh, yes. Because when you're in a deficit, you do run the risk of developing deficiencies because, of course, you're consuming less.
Yeah. Anyways, so you went back and forth with this yoga stuff, right?
I really did.
When did you, because now you're accredited. Now you're like, if I call you an expert, now I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, I would consider.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're always a student of yoga. It's not like I know everything.
Right. Expert. मैं क्या करूँ? Student of yoga, philosophy थोड़ी बोल रहा था मैं. But okay, so now it's fair to say that you're an expert because you've done multiple accreditations. When did you decide to do that?
Honestly, this was a little bit before COVID that I decided.
So 2020.
2019, 20, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Right before, and you were just like, what was that decision like where you were like, okay, I need to make money. Might as well make money off this? Was it something like that?
So I was already making a decent amount of money because I was working at a gym. I was working with Hydro actually, whom I
Hydro
love.
Fit. Yeah.
But I realized that the gym is not the reason the gym is not my thing 100%. I still work out all the time.
Okay.
A few times a week. But the reason the gym is not my main thing is because after a certain point, so any effective gym routine will be very repetitive.
Yes.
A good
and boring.
gym routine will be repetitive and boring.
100% boring.
No mental stimulation. But whereas I do other things now, I do yoga, I do aerial dance, I do pole dance, all of these things you can learn for life. There is always something to learn.
Of course, yeah.
That's what I needed. My brain needed it.
You needed stimulus, right?
Yes.
And
because I'm just so smart.
I mean, symposium padha hua hai bhai. Lekin what I'm saying is, but so we'll get into the yoga and the fitness in just a minute. At what you said at 16, what was that realization, right? Like, yaar, I need to start earning myself. And then whatever comes your way, then it's a matter of how, and how is irrelevant, right? As long as you have a why you want to earn. What was that realization like?
It was so originally it was just to support my family.
Okay.
But then once I started, even just a little bit on the side, I was like, oh, now I can make my own decisions with money. And usually people start doing this in their 20s and they go through that crazy phase where they spend unnecessarily and all that stupidity happens.
Sure.
That happened at 16 and then out of the way. And then I was like, oh, okay. Investments now?
Sure, I guess, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really helped my development.
A Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin at 16.
yeah, dude.
I wish I did that.
Yeah, you do wish.
yeah, man, I do wish. I wasn't that smart, unfortunately.
I bought one Bitcoin. I still remember. Kya, it benefited me a lot. Alhamdulillah. I bought one Bitcoin when it was $500.
And now? When did you sell it?
I'll tell you after the podcast. But yeah, right now it's right now it's $48,000 a Bitcoin. Yeah, so you do wish. 5 saal pehle ek nahi 5 Bitcoin.
If I had known you at the time and you could have told me that.
I didn't know what I was doing.
That's okay. I would have probably listened to you.
Anyways,
the way you talk, also, it's just such a commanding voice. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So Socrates.
This is Socrates.
Bitcoin.
Metacognition. Sorry.
That's the full conversation.
That's it. Socrates, Bitcoin, metacognition. Imran Khan.
Yes.
So what are we? So okay. So you made the decision, Kiya, supporting my family and gym first, right? And
Yeah.
when the gym was just not stimulating enough for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was just a few years ago where I was like, if I have to teach one more person how to squat, I will blow my brains out.
Okay, but why? Was it that they don't get it, or is just it wasn't like it wasn't entertaining or it wasn't fun for you?
It was honestly just a lack of stimulation.
Okay.
Because I feel like anybody in their late teens to early 20s, your brain is developing a lot. You know, you're like a sponge. You want everything. And this gym that I worked at, like me and my boss are still like this. Like I consider him my family. I consider him like my father.
Who?
Hydro.
Hydro
literally.
still?
Yeah, I call him Papa.
He's too young for that.
Yeah.
You
But
understand?
I'm like, Papa, hello.
Oh no. Dude, ek to he's in such phenomenal shape, na?
Oh yeah.
He absolutely does not. But he's not that old, but he also doesn't look a day over like 22 or something, right?
Yeah, it's really funny. So
It's
people have
strange.
always thought that we're siblings or distant relatives. And then when I make a joke about him being my dad, they believe me. And I'm like, no, it was a joke. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Look at him. Look at him. But yeah, that dude again has really, just taken the long way where you've, picked it up at 16 and just, mashallah, so you've done so well. I've seen him working hard forever.
So genuinely, a lot of my character development came from that man.
Of course. Yeah.
Because the way we work very similarly, like our work ethic is like, just grinding and whatnot. But he doesn't admit it, but deep down he has a total yogi vibe. He's all like good vibes, inner child nourishment and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I love it. I love it. Just say it louder.
No, listen, of course. Like, so I knew Hydro before he was Hydro. So I worked out with him like a total of 3 times. I don't know if he even remembers it because it was a common practice with him. He'd just come in. उस वक्त हम Creek Club में workout करते थे. So you just come in and he'd be like, he'd just pick someone who again, his vibes matched. We didn't have this kind of language back then. I'm talking 12 years ago. इतना बुढ़ा हूँ मैं. Ancient. तो जो है वो 12 years ago, I must have been 18 or 19.
Oh my gosh.
Right, yeah. 17, 18. So anyways, and I used to be able to lift a little bit. I was strong, relatively, right? And so he would obviously pick out someone who would at least be able to keep up with him in terms of weights, right?
Yeah.
He also was very young at the time. But then he would just work out with them. And so I worked out with him a couple of times. And the one thing that I remember to this day, the workout was good. Arms kiya tha humne. The workout was good. In fact, दोनों तीनों दफा arms ही किया था. But there was this distinct lack of that toxicity that was prevalent back in those days. Gym culture was predominantly masculine. Still is.
Bad, yeah.
अच्छा मैं तो नहीं जाता अब gyms.
Oh, okay.
मैं तो बस tires उठाता हूँ. Philosophize and lift tires.
No, I don't even lift. I'm just naturally muscular.
That was the thing. No, but कुछ किया नहीं है. सोच रहा हूँ gym join कर लूँ. Just flex everything. just not breathing. Veins on my
about
forehead.
to pop.
That's too much, dude. That's too much. Oh man. But so you're saying still toxic masculinity?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. But I mean, not even masculinity, just general toxicity is very common in
Even
the fitness
khawateen.
industry. Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
So
I don't
talk to
know
me
why.
about that.
Tell me all the hot
Tell me
gossip.
all of it. What's
So-
the tea? Iftar ho gayi hai.
So genuinely, like with like me and Hydro are obviously gang family,
Yeah.
But like, it's very sometimes difficult to get along with other fitness people in the industry. I think I was better able to get along with them when I was younger and new because they did not see me as any sort of threat. Na, I mean, ye kya choti si bachchi hai, isko
Are you still threatening?
I'm very threatening. No, I'm not.
Why do you rep gangs and stuff? PTI. What's going on here?
So I mean, still now I tend to get along with. That's the thing. I get along very well with the male trainers and gym owners, but for some reason there's this weird thing with the female trainers. And the thing is that if you ask any male gym owner or trainer, they might tell you the same thing, that they have issues with other male trainers. And it's nothing direct. It's just this vibe you get that, okay, like I don't think this person actually likes me.
Where do you think that comes from?
I just think that I think it's just a scarcity mindset, right? I mean, Karachi is only so big. Our 1% is only so big. How many boutique gyms can you open and have them run at full capacity?
Right.
It's just competition. It's just business.
Yeah. And so, but the problem with that is taking that approach instead of actually being like, okay, well, if Taabir is this good, I just need to be better.
Yes.
Because that's the actual solution. Not, branding you as whatever, she's snotty. She
Exactly.
poses
Instead
are,
of talking crap about
Yeah.
somebody else.
just be better.
Yes.
And
that's the thing. So that's what's really made me into what I am as a yogi today. I can honestly say with like confidence that I think I'm one of the best yogis in the city. Just starts posing.
right now, तेरे टांग जो है your सर के ऊपर.
I just sit like
You
that for
could
the
na.
rest of class.
You could, na? Don't do it, please. Yeah, please don't do it.
You can no longer monetize the video then.
Dude, वैसे monetize तो एक तरफ है, just for my sanity, because then I'll try to do it.
You want me to do it?
No, please don't do it.
So and that's because like I pride myself in one, learning about my own self-study is very important.
Of course.
But also understanding what my students need, what my students want, understanding the human body. I'm constantly learning.
Of course. Okay.
And that makes me a better teacher.
Sure.
On top of that, if you study as a teacher, if you're also studying some psychology, some therapy, some this, that, how to communicate, relations, all of these things, this all makes you a better teacher as well.
100%.
So it's just how much do you want to develop as a person
Mhm.
in your career? That's what's going to make you better, not shitting on other yogis.
Absolutely not, right? So obviously we can't talk about the people who are problematic because, name calling won't serve anything.
Yeah.
Who are some of the, besides yourself, who are some of the other yogis that you think are par excellence in Karachi?
There is Rasti, who owns the studio that I work at.
Which is?
Yoga Lift.
Yoga Lift. Where's that?
Self-promo.
Where's that?
It's, where Pomo and Easy and all those restaurants are? Shahbaz.
Okay, Shahbaz. Yeah.
So it's there.
Okay, wonderful.
So she is amazing. She's all good vibes. And what's interesting about our dynamic is that I'm just a younger version of her.
Oh, wonderful.
She is a type A, crazy workaholic who's also like yoga and love and good vibes.
Yoga and love, but if you would stop bitching, you would make money.
So that's literally what I am, because she looks at me and she's like, oh my God, why do you work so much? I used to do that when I was your age. And I was like, yeah, Rasti, by the way, like from 3:10 to 3:55 a.m., I have a little bit of time. So I was thinking I should take a class,
Take one more class, whatever. Just
and that was her. So we have an interesting dynamic, and she's helped me a lot to develop as a yogi,
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
Then there is Ajlan, my other favorite.
Okay.
He is like me in the sense that I feel needs constant new things, mental stimulation.
Okay.
He always wants to be a beginner at something, which
Okay.
I love because that makes you a kid at heart.
Of course. And you're always happy.
Yeah, so he's the one who introduced me to pole dancing recently, and I was like, oh my God, I love it.
And just an aside, I'll get back to your list right away, but just aside, again, people are like pole dancing, ye kya hota hai? Dude, try one.
Oh, fucking try
Try
it.
one, right? Try one. Because, and I've never tried it, but I know getting like
I
that.
have a bruise from it right now.
Oh, I just thought that was you, jujitsu or something.
Oh man, I tried jujitsu once also, and then I never went back. I got
Why?
really scared.
Well, scared of what?
Man, there's a lot happening.
It's a lot happening, but also...
I've done kickboxing.
Okay, wonderful. But jujitsu mein na, so I'm a blue belt in jujitsu. I didn't pursue it. I could have been better. I was actually...
Yeah, you're jacked enough,
No, that's not the point. I was actually skinny. Like, I was quite prodigious at when I started because I had a wonderful teacher. Mera isme kamal nahi hai. My teacher is absolutely one of the best in Canada. And fantastic teacher. He has a PhD. He's also and an MBA and just killing life, basically. But yeah, and then I stopped because laziness and self-sabotage.
As you do.
Right? But pole dancing, right? Just getting in those positions requires such strength.
Oh my gosh.
You would be surprised. Most people would be surprised.
You know what's interesting is I posted one up on my story the other day, like a pole dancing video. I had multiple people, like girls, asking me, where can I buy one? And I was like, with all due love and yogi respect and good vibes, you've never even picked up your own groceries, bro. How the fuck are you gonna hang from a pole? Please explain to me. Why don't you go to the gym a few times?
Yeah.
For a few years.
Yeah.
And then buy yourself
Just
a pole.
do a dead hang. Just do a dead hang. And
Show me that you can hang from a bar for a minute.
Exactly. And a dead hanging is exactly that. Not to sound it's not complicated at all. Just hang on to your own body weight for a minute, for 30 seconds. Do one of those things, right? And वही वाली बात है, it's surprising how few people are actually have that calisthenic awareness. It's not.
Oh, body awareness is big for me. Like,
Yeah, has to be. Come on now.
so you know how like this is what, so I always explain proprioception in my classes. We're about to get really sciencey for 2 minutes.
Please.
So you know, if you ask a drunk person to walk in a straight line, they can't do it. So so for us humans, we have a lot of areas of our body we don't really use, right? I would say our shoulders, our hip joints, all of these things. So this is not a scientific explanation at all, but like there literally, when if I try to tell you to rotate your shoulder a certain way, it's likely that you won't be able to do it. Your brain is just going to short circuit.
Yeah.
Because you don't do it. That body awareness is no longer there.
Yep.
You have to rebuild that proprioception, the body awareness, right side up on the ground first.
Yes.
Before you try to go upside down, before you try to hang from the air, before you try to get on a pole.
That's it.
And people don't understand this at all.
Well, I mean, it's spectacle based. No, it looks cool, right?
It
so
does.
if you're upside down, looks cool. I want to do it.
Huh.
Or if someone's like, there's the breakdancing community is now getting big in Karachi as well. If someone does a flip, you're just, I want to do a flip.
Yeah.
Do a flip, dude. Have you tried jumping? Do a flip. Come on, man.
Teach me.
Teach me
right now.
Right now. I can do a flip.
No, you cannot. You're going to break your neck.
Exactly. Or people watch someone do like a 110 kilo power clean. I want to do that. No, you don't.
Like, and they're
No,
like, they're like, oh, like, but you make it look so easy. It's my job.
Yeah, and years. And also years.
Yeah, and I've been doing this for, like, they're like, no, but you just started like aerial yoga or pole dancing. I was like, yeah, but I have 10 years
of everything else.
Like my relationship with my body is so developed, whereas you need to start that. Take the first step.
That's it. And again, I suppose it's difficult, and you don't want to be antagonistic to anyone, but I suppose it's difficult for people to realize that they've not been kind to their bodies.
It's one of those things that you don't understand it because you're like, okay, but I've lived in it my whole life. Clearly, I know my body. I know my body better than anybody else. And it's like, no, but you don't. Have you ever checked in with your body?
Do you even know how?
Like, even if you ask someone who's feeling anger or emotional or whatever in a meditation, sometimes I'll tell these students, I'm like, but where in your body are you physically feeling this?
That's it.
And apparently therapists also do this.
Yes. We're supposed
I'm sure
to,
you know from all of your therapy appointments.
Yes, appointments. I am actually studying to be a therapist. Come on.
I forgot
and also
that.
appointments. just stop saying that. I'm
Stop
a man.
attacking me.
I don't take therapy.
Men don't talk about their feelings.
What
okay,
feelings?
yeah, like I don't have
any feelings. Huh? But yeah, so one of the key ways of bringing a person back to the here and now is to ask them where they're feeling it, right? And you'll be surprised. The more aware people are of their bodies, the stranger the position is, right?
Yes.
Like behind my knee. Or, I'm feeling it in my elbow. And we know that's tennis elbow, right? We know that from athletic courses and stuff. But they'll feel it like in the back of my tricep, or like it's in the bottom part of my chest, or it's my sternum.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. It really is.
But it's like you're self-diagnosing then, and you're able to understand, why am I having chronic pain in this area? Oh, because I have been blocking out this memory of this trauma for like years.
Sure, exactly like that, right? But let's go back to your list. So you, Aslan, and
Ajlan
then
and Rasti are my tops.
Yeah.
Maria is another yogi who teaches aerial.
Okay.
She's all good vibes. It's really great. She's just I just like her vibe when she's teaching.
Okay.
Like she'll be teaching like intense like poses and stuff, but her encouraging words are like, yes, queen, you're doing so good, queen. Yeah. And I'm just like, I love this.
Yeah, beautiful. I tried aerial yoga. I did a couple of classes with Soha.
Okay.
Right. And again, another quintessential yogi nahi hota. That kind of conversation is just soft spoken and everything. And she's just like, yes, Kazi, you can do it. Main ulta tanga hua. Maine bola, this is what I need right now. But yeah, she's like, oh wow, you can really do it. I'm like, this is
all I wanted to hear my whole life.
So that's all I wanted, is for you to say that I could do it. But yeah, super difficult stuff.
My classes are quite interesting if you come to my classes. So Sabina actually was, she tells this story to everyone. I was like, this is not how you market my classes, yeah. Like,
यहाँ पे मर्द आते हैं और वो तोड़े जाते हैं. That's the marketing.
I need to quote this for my next class. Okay,
Please do.
please give me this clip.
Please, of course, yeah. मर्द आते हैं वो तोड़े जाते हैं. What? एक मिनट.
ये तो yoga है.
ये क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे?
So for one of my classes, I had students who had been with me for months.
Okay.
I know they can do push-ups, okay? Because I will train them and drill them until they are strong. And I'm like, okay, you can do push-ups. Now we're moving on to arm balances.
Okay.
And they can do arm balances also. They
Yeah.
are solid, my
Yeah.
best students.
Yeah, mashallah.
One day I come in, I'm like, okay, just as a warm-up, give me 5 push-ups. That's
Okay.
it, just 5.
Yeah.
They start, hip thrusting the ground, the half push-ups. I don't know, it's so hard. I'm like, you know what, motherfuckers? You think you can lie to me?
You think I'm playing? You thought this was a game?
I was like, acha, we're doing push-ups the rest of class, fuckers.
What? How long is class?
It's an hour. Different push-up variations,
Oh,
push-up
no.
holds. One arm, ek tang upar kar do, but we are doing push-ups. You lie to me again. You
Yeah.
see?
You see. And what about all the people who hadn't been lying? मैंने क्या किया? It's like what?
So the only person who couldn't do a push-up at the time was Sabina.
Oh, cute.
So
Okay.
she had to hold a plank.
Okay. What?
Different planks. Side plank, one plank this way, one leg up in plank, and one arm.
Maybe I won't come to your class.
No, you have to come.
No, I don't. I don't have to do anything. unless you obviously threaten my male ego, then obviously I'm coming.
Yeah, I think you won't be able to do it.
Tomorrow.
Front of class.
Front of class. क्या बोल रही थी? With that accent. That's ridiculous. But again, what do you say about, so where it's good that, it's way you see it more often now, yoga, yogis, yoga studios, all that stuff. What do you say about how some of the education is very loose? Because again, there's no conventions that govern, there's no bodies. There's no yoga body in Karachi. There's no,
Yeah.
No one's saying, what standard of education is enough for you to become a yogi, start giving classes. What do you say to all that? Because people get hurt, You can
I
hurt
would say the same for anything in the fitness industry here. And the main issue is that people don't understand that every single body is different and functions differently, because yes, we're all born with the same joints and the same whatever, but there's years of injuries, movement patterns that are misaligned, all of these things. Everybody moves differently. And the issue is that people take one yoga course a lot of the times just to make a little bit of extra money on the side, pocket money chahiye or whatever. They don't care about what they're doing. Just like many teachers in schools here, like my mother herself is a teacher, and there are other teachers within the school who are just doing it because they didn't have anything else to do.
Sure.
But you have to understand that, this is a very big problem, but it's like you are handling, somebody is trusting you with their body.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And a broken body at that,
Their broken body, and we all have aches and pains. And if you cannot value the fact that you don't have to know everything as a yoga teacher. But I would say if you cannot value the fact that someone is trusting you with their body, then you should not be a yoga teacher. You should not be a trainer. You should not be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't deserve that responsibility and that respect.
Sure. Fair, right? Fair. And then what do you also say to the stigma where yoga is necessarily feminine, and all jokes aside, we've been joking for a while, but all jokes aside, मर्द हजरात ज़्यादातर नहीं आना चाहते because लड़कियों वाली चीज़ है, मैं क्यों करूँ, man, I'm strong and this and that. How do you then go around combating that?
So, again, if they're willing to listen, then I tell them how yoga was originally masculine.
How was it originally masculine?
So it was created by men, actually, and it was a number of poses, very stiff. They were held for a long amount of time to create discipline and to create energy flows in the body, like space for the energy to flow, obviously spiritual reasons, so that the men could meditate. Because once religion started becoming more patriarchal, wow, we are getting deep. Once religion started becoming more patriarchal, it was men who were spiritually enlightened and men who could search for enlightenment only. And this is one of the pathways to which you can become enlightened, is through yoga and then meditation.
Yep.
However, as science came along, obviously, those stiff yoga poses are not 100% the way.
No.
Because for one of the things is that, if you lock your knees, that was one of the poses, forward fold, lock the knees, fold over, stay there for 5 minutes. It was one of the poses from back in the day. Now, science says for a lot of people, if you lock your knees and you fold over, you're going to get pain in your sciatic nerve, which is your little tailbone, top of your butt.
Yeah.
So, it's little things like that.
Oh, you can't say butt. Sorry.
Booty.
Can't do that either. But again, so yes.
So
right?
femininity. I would say that honestly, so I feel like actually now a lot of the men in sports in that go to the gym or anything like this, they've become very open to yoga, which is, it's funny. They're open to yoga because they think it's stretching.
Yeah.
And they're like, I need to stretch. And I'm like, that's great. Come to my class. It's not stretching.
It's not stretching. Also, it's not stretching at all. Right? Because that's what they think it is. And I suppose that's how they...
but it's a good entrance into it.
Sure. Right? And then they often, from what I understand...
They do stay then.
Yeah, they never leave. Right? Because the thing is, it also... Essentially, everyone wants to feel good. No one wants to feel like crap, No one wants to feel like their bones are degenerating and stuff,
exactly.
And it's... The thing is, our postures and how we, constantly are consuming social media and so on and so forth it's quite problematic. It's not good. And so, if something offers alleviation from all that, I think 100% for it, But, again, so how would you increase your outreach? Because ek aur masla ye hai, right? When you're teaching someone yoga, right? It's a lot of energy. Some of it, unfortunately, does become sexual, right? And becomes inappropriate. How would you govern that space and how would you go about dealing with it? Ki yaar, dekho, please just keep your mind up here and really understand this for what it is. It's important for you. Instead of whatever, yoga pants and all those things, all those stereotypes, how do you navigate that space?
So definitely as a yogi who is 22... I feel like sexualized quite a bit. And within my own friend group, it's hilarious. I don't mind. I'm like, yeah, yogi, shogi, whatever.
Yeah.
You make your jokes.
Yeah.
Within my class though, because of course I want to feel safe, but I also want my students to feel safe. I feel like I'm very, very strict on my gut feeling and crowd control and, stuff like that. If I feel like any man, even if it's like, if I even feel like he's looking at me in a weird way or looking at my students in a weird way, like he's not allowed in my class anymore.
What else?
And
are you
I think
do?
that there's nothing else I can do, unfortunately.
That's it.
And it's hard because at the same time, as a yogi, as that spiritual person, I want to offer healing, right? I want you to stop.
That's it,
what
dude.
can I do for you to stop being a pervert?
A pervert, exactly. I think, so, people ask me, why'd you start the podcast? And the hope was always to have conversations. Having said that, unfortunately, you can't have conversations with everybody. Some people just aren't ready to talk.
Yeah, people have to be receptive. And it's interesting because yoga has brought that into my actual life now. So I was somebody who, I guess because of my childhood and upbringing, I was afraid of conflict, especially with men. If any man was to yell at me or to raise his voice or to even look slightly angry, like I shrink and get into a corner and I just cannot even move. But recently I started creating space. I'd be like, okay, this person spoke to me in a way that I did not like or used me in a way that I did not like. I would take, even if it's 2-3 weeks, I will take that time. I will ground myself, think about what to say, how to say it, make a list of things I need to say if I need to, and then go to that person and say it in a very, almost like the way I'm talking now, very like as if I'm giving like a lecture in school, like that's how I talk. And I feel like that's the only way to communicate sometimes. And that also gives the other person time to become receptive then. Because I've realized in arguments or situations like this, like for instance, if somebody is speaking to you inappropriately regarding the podcast, in that moment, if you start arguing with them, they're not receptive and neither are you.
Sure, of course not.
It's going to devolve into a terrible argument and it's going to do nothing for anyone.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing you want to avoid always is antagonism.
Oh, yes.
You don't want to
But that's very difficult.
Of course.
In practice.
Of course it is, right? Especially when people are calling you names and all sorts of other things. What's the, in terms of, telling people, or because again, Pakistan and Karachi and this muashara, in terms of garnering acceptance for your because it's your profession now. You're not going to say, oh, I take a few yoga classes. Just like, I have to go to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to work
This is
after
my thing.
school and then work, right? So how do we go about, or how have you tried to get greater legitimacy for your profession?
Legitimacy for my profession. I feel like I do just take it as I am a teacher of a subject. So in that way, like I try to connect with each and every student. I try to see what they need and why they need it. I try to cater to them. I will change the class according to what my students want to want to learn in that month. I feel like that's the only way, aside from encouragement. The more your students evolve and develop, the more you feel in line with your identity as this being a profession, right?
Okay.
If I just go and I'm performing in the sense that I'm teaching a class, but I don't really care about my students. I'm teaching what I want to teach. I'm not even looking at them.
Mhm.
I don't think I'll ever feel like a yoga teacher
Fair.
as a legitimate anything.
Yeah. What's a good so for instance, I've worked out now for the better part of 12 years. But if I asked you, what's a good entry point to yoga? You'd just say take one of your classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that.
Self-promo.
Of course.
I would say start with a restorative class, because I think most people... Actually, no, I wouldn't say that. I would say start with the power yoga class.
Power yoga.
Yeah, the reason I would say that, I was going to say restorative at first because it's the easiest class in terms of its stretching. But as someone who goes to the gym, yes, you are coming to yoga for stretching, but I know the type of mental stimulation these people need.
Okay.
And I feel like power yoga, they come in and it's a challenge.
Mhm.
And that really introduces them to what yoga is.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, yoga is a whole world on its own.
Of course.
It builds that intrigue, and then they come back.
Okay. But again, if you're talking about men, you're talking about people who at least have some understanding of what calisthenic awareness feels like. Tricep ऐसे feel होती है, bicep ऐसे feel होता
Yeah.
है, shoulders ऐसे होते हैं, pecs ऐसे जो भी,
Yeah.
legs. There's also an entire group or subset of people who you want to hopefully invite in, which are the women, right? And a lot of them have never worked out. A lot of them have never really had space in this society. They're
Yeah.
always taught, if you could just stop existing.
That would be great.
That'd be good. If you could just disappear until I need you again,
Yes.
and don't show anything, that would be fantastic.
Yes.
Right. So we were talking about how I if I want to take a break, I'll actually just look at. So usually it's just me and the guest, right? So I'll look into. I'm talking to my editor.
Yeah,
So I'll look
I
into the
got that.
camera and I'll be like, "Wahab yahan se kaatna hai," and the guest's like,
Who are you talking to?
Wahab kaun hai? It's just Wahab knows. But yeah,
Your imaginary friend. I
Of
don't think
course.
there is one. I don't think there's any Wahab.
yeah. I don't know what you're going to say. Now you're going to have a very bad podcast because he's going to cut you every time. He's going to be like, "Yeah, man, are you?"
Wahab, I really appreciate you. I think you're a great guy.
I think he's awesome too. MashaAllah say. What was I going to say? But what were we talking about before we took a break?
I don't know, but it was getting quite intense.
Yeah. Ab kya kare?
Let's interview you now.
Oh, okay. This is what you're going to do?
Yeah, welcome to my podcast.
Wonderful. But before we do, absolutely ask me whatever questions you want. Koi masla hi nahi hai. But in terms of being on the social media, so you have
Yeah.
an open Instagram page,
Yes.
right? And you're doing all these poses. And again, like I said, as a society, we are extremely sexually frustrated.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? How do you navigate that space? I pose this question to practically every woman because I don't know how you guys do it or girls do it, right? But as someone, again, yoga instructor, there's just certain poses where you're going to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And like yoga is so sexualized. Like a man thinks yoga and he's like sex, That's all it is.
But that's like they need to understand that's a them problem. That's not the yoga, dude. You know what I mean?
And it is interesting because with yoga, at least with me, in terms of energy dynamics, there's more energy flow, there's more loving energy, there is more sensual energy, your sexual energy, your tantric energy, all of these things.
Tantric.
Tantra.
Oh no, not tantric energy. Some words are great.
Just an
right?
intense word.
Some words are fantastic, right? And tantric is one of them.
You don't know what it means, but you're like, yes.
Dude, sign me up for some
Tantric.
Tantric is just a kind of Sikh kebab, Kazi. Oh, I'll have some tantric kebabs. Thank you.
So it is a lot of that is like sexual energy and its flow. So I have no problem with that. I have no problem in regards to conversations about sex and all of that in its relation to yoga. I'm like, yeah, bro, pull a yoga pose during sex.
Yeah.
Acha hai.
Yeah. Wait, no. That's not what my question was.
I know. Let me continue. I have a point. I tend to ramble.
Okay, cool.
But so in terms of that, like with my own friends and my students, because also my students, I've selected them. I don't allow anybody into my class who makes me or my students feel unsafe.
Sure.
Because of that, it's a very open conversation in that sense. So even on my Instagram, like I feel like somehow I've begun to cultivate that safe space.
Okay, good.
So I think I used to get sexualized a lot more than I do now, even though I'm bigger and more well known as a yogi now.
Okay.
So Alhamdulillah. So I don't know if it's just because I've made it so I don't have tolerance for that. Maybe I don't respond to it. If someone's really weird, I just straight up block them. Like I don't engage.
Okay.
And so somehow I've started cultivating an audience that's people who genuinely are interested in yoga.
I think also there's room here for me to say this. Yoga would benefit. So Abhi, we're obviously talking about the top 1% of society, right? The people who can afford your classes, the people who can afford to be here, live here, and then obviously, make the time to, because obviously someone who works at, as a waiter at a restaurant doesn't have the salary, also doesn't have the time. He's a daily wager, right? He's a laborer. Just doesn't, even if he's a salaried person, it's labor, right? And so they don't have the wherewithal, the time, or the money. But it's ridiculous how beneficial yoga could be even in his life, in everyone's life, right? It's like the only thing I think that has benefited me more. I've done a few classes, a few yoga classes. I've not ever picked it up as a practice. But the only thing that's benefited me more is meditation and then prayer, which is also meditation, right? So I mean, it's just that. And then you can also then incorporate that into this.
That is the most important aspect, or the biggest gift that yoga can give a person. So the only reason yoga is good in terms of meditation is that it makes you come into your body before you have to meditate.
Sure.
Otherwise, when you meditate or you pray, you're constantly thinking about other things.
Sure.
So for most people, having a little bit of a movement practice before just helps you settle the mind and come into your body. But yeah, that mindfulness is just like, people also really complicate meditation, right? They're like, oh, I don't know how to empty my mind and I'm thinking about a million things. Meditation is just the awareness that there are thoughts happening.
That's a very good way to put it. I think
it's still difficult to understand, though.
Of course it is, but lots of people will be taken by the concept of objective truths.
Yes.
Right? They're like, okay, what's objective versus subjective? Subjective is what I believe. Objective is what is truth, irrespective of what I believe or what I have hold of it. And the only way to attain any kind of objectivity is to become cognizant of your subjectivity.
Yes.
That's it. And that's what
that was very well said.
But that's just what you've said, right? I've just, matlab main kya karu yaar, Taabir.
Philosophy major, yaar.
No. But yeah, I think if more people were just alerted to how beneficial yoga could be, and how non-elite it actually is, because
it's for everyone.
Yeah, and the people who began the practice were people who, or these practices were people who shunned the worldly life, like monks and stuff.
Yes, they had nothing.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's something. Would you be open to creating like content creation? Because the thing is, again, everyone can't be in your class, right? But everyone could view an Instagram video.
That is true. And I have been wanting to do that. It's quite interesting, actually. This is one of those places in my social media where I'm a little bit scared. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to, like, I don't know why. It's just one of those insecurities, or like, I wouldn't say it's imposter syndrome, but there's been resistance within me to like start that. But I really want to because people would benefit quite a lot.
I think so. Well, why? Ek minute, let's unpack that. Why is there this resistance?
I think part of it is that it's quite difficult here in terms of the reactions you get. Like even in this podcast, I don't know if it's happened for you, but like this, it's generally in English, right? It's quite a small thing. People will be like, "Why aren't you teaching it in Urdu?" You know?
That's for number one.
So
sure.
it's a bunch of these little things that make me feel like there will be a disconnect.
Well, so the difference between the podcast, it has happened, obviously. The difference between the podcast and content like the one I'm assuming content pieces like the ones I'm assuming you would make is you can actually just translate it. Translating all of this into Urdu would be a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't, it's too much. It's not feasible. But just the content that you would create readily can be translated.
Oh yeah.
और बताओ मसले. अब तो मैं content ये बनवा के रहूँगा.
Well, we should do this.
Dude, I'm telling you, I am a bastion of toxic positivity. Like,
Okay.
if I believe in you, like, there's no room for you to doubt yourself. I'm sorry.
Oh my God,
It's
you will
over.
aggressively make me achieve my dreams.
It's over. So even in therapy, right? But one of the exams that we have to go through, there's like 17. It is vigorous, obviously, because before you become a therapist, you need to be, vetted in every single way, shape, or form. But so one of the exams is what we call a fishbowl, which is you conduct a therapy session, and there's like 17 peers and 3 tutors and a supervisor watching, and these people are all people that have more experience than you, all of them,
pressure.
right? Yeah. No pressure, right? Or whatever. And you're supposed to conduct you're supposed to, navigate the space. Or आगे से जो बंदा आ रहा होता है, they're having a therapy session, right? So they'll like break down and stuff, and they'll bring some baggage in, and because you're being tested on a few things, but one of them being you have to, have that space safe. You have to make that safe space for them, for the person bringing. Because they're so vulnerable and stuff, right? So, anyways, even in those instances, if someone's crying right after everything's done, I'll go to them and be like, "You okay? You better be okay. You have to be okay."
It's just so intense.
It's just too much. You have to be okay. You're good, right? You're good.
And if they're not,
they better be okay.
They better be okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. Excuse me. So yeah, expect now aggressive messages about where that content is.
I love that. Please do that for me because that's what I do for all these people. Or like I told you at the parties, the drunk people.
Right, the drunk people. Going back to the drunk people.
What a good segue.
How do you then navigate those spaces as a young person thrust into a world where you're going to interact with people that are not only more prominent, because you're just not old enough, no?
Yeah.
You just haven't had that kind of time, but these people are not only prominent, they're also powerful.
Yeah.
Leader, or just owners of gyms, but really leaders of fashion industries. You're going to be
those people,
interacting with all of them, right? It's just, and the thing also is, at some point, you have to also speak about the fact that there is no getting ahead if you don't interact with these people.
That is true, and it sucks.
It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
it is, right? But also, that's just the game.
Because Karachi is one of those cities. Like it's comparable to LA and New York City. Like it's just one of those, in my head at least, it's one of those places where you have to kind of interact with the more powerful people. But how to navigate that is interesting. So in the beginning, I would be, like I would go along with stuff. I wouldn't really hold my truth. I wouldn't hold my own. I'd be like, okay, I'll party with you guys. Okay, you're looking at me uncomfortably and you're speaking to me uncomfortably, but I'm just gonna not say anything. Yeah. Now though, so very recently, just in the past year, I've really stepped into my yogi persona, and I'm like, this is me, but I need to be this off of the mat and outside of my classes that I teach as well. If I am teaching my students to be true to themselves and be grounded and whatever, then I need to do this in my friendships, my relationships, and in uncomfortable situations.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's really carried over. So now I do hold my own, and I will say it now. I'll be like, you're looking at me weird.
Yeah.
Could you stop?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like, hey, like you are a leader in the fashion industry, but asking someone to take their clothes off in return for like a modeling gig, not so cool,
No,
dude.
no, not the best.
So
Not the
it's
best.
weird, but me speaking up like that has helped me to gain more respect. Obviously, not from certain
Of
individuals that
course
get
not.
called out, but who cares? Because you start to attract those prominent people that are
So there's
not
obviously good people.
douchebags.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
You
That's-
start to filter them out, and honestly, for some reason, things started working out more for me that way
Yeah.
than when I was being a doormat.
Okay, yeah. I mean, again, there's no reason. I mean, you shouldn't be so unkind to yourself because you were young. No? You are young.
That's true. I have to offer myself grace that, hey, bro, you didn't know any better. Like,
You absolutely don't. And the thing is, कि ये जो लोग होते हैं, the one mistake you must absolutely not make is to think कि they don't know that they hold power.
oh yeah,
Right.
it's a complete power trip. But you know what it is again, I feel like you would also understand this from your perspective is as somebody who wants to offer healing. I also don't hate them.
Yeah, I hate
I-
them.
I don't relate.
Not at all. You're right. You're
Like
obviously right, yeah.
I feel like I want them to heal, and I want them to, because there's a lot of pain deep down, and there's a lot of existential like
Dread.
like this is the only meaning they have in their life is to show off their money a little bit and power trip a little, and it's quite sad. It's like, bro, this is not happiness.
No, this is not happiness, and it is sad. But really, Batan, I think, where do you draw the line? You draw the line where they might hurt someone else.
Yes, if they hurt somebody else, and then no, like
Yeah.
of course not.
कोई scene नहीं है फिर.
But at the same time, like it's one of those things where it's like I see the potential in people, but it's not my job to get you there.
There it is.
Like I have to protect myself also.
First.
Yeah.
First. Yeah.
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 But
And
in
then,
that-
of course, there's room for you. There's room for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in that case, if I have the capacity to be your friend and offer healing and offer space, then I will. Because of course, we just want to send love out to the world.
Of course. Yes.
Yogi vibes are coming through.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, but profit maximization, make that money. Yeah.
Hustle.
Hustle all the time. All the time. I'm made of money.
Oh yeah. These are positive affirmations. I am made of
They
money.
really
yo.
are. They really are. I mean, think about it. At the end of the day, we've spoken about this before also. यार ये जो है ना ये AC जो है ना अब it's just this chandelier is really now mashkook ना.
Son,
हाँ.
is
Look at-
bothering you?
I don't know. Is it bothering you?
No.
What if it falls?
Why is it bothering you? What is causing these? Psychoanalyzing now.
So देखें ताबीर, as a child I had no control over my environment, and so I try the best I can to exert control wherever I can.
So what would happen now if the chandelier was to continue to move and its velocity of movement began to increase?
I think it would be directly proportional to my unstable state of mind. I would just want even more so to exert control over it.
So what can we do? Can we experiment right now and allow it to move? What would happen? Are you gonna lose your mind?
You were doing so great. Are you gonna lose your mind? पागल हो जाओगे? हाँ? तुम stupid हो?
Are you gonna start to Hulk out, like just throw the mic and just have a meltdown?
just I was a kid. No, but I think so. Good line of questioning. I think a lot of this stuff comes from there. So Freud, who is he's known as the father of psychoanalytics.
Yes.
Or psychodynamic theory, and he spoke about a primary wound, right? And a primary wound happens, as the name suggests, at a very early age. And his theory makes sense in that you'd be surprised how much of your life and your responses and your reactions that primary wound dictates. Yeah. A large portion. And it could be, there's different kinds of wounds, right? So there's someone screaming outside this?
Thought it was a dog.
Oh, could be the dog. So there's I'm afraid of dogs. So there's a
What?
Dude, terrified of dogs.
Why?
I never got socialized, no?
Okay.
Yeah, as a kid, just always taught to be afraid. I'm generally afraid of most things. This is again something that we can.
Okay, we're gonna get into that now.
but so there's an abandonment wound and so on and so forth,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So there's all these wounds, and you'd be surprised about how you're talking about how these people who flaunt their money and their power and their clout are themselves hurt people. I think if we have a greater understanding of wounds and primary woundings in that psychodynamic way, I think you could make more sense of their actions. Because as of right now, just violence doesn't make any sense. If how long are you going to tell me that someone either blames the victim or was sexually frustrated?
Their behavior.
Yeah, exactly,
I understand.
Right? If someone gropes someone without their consent, right? I think the conversation needs to be a little more nuanced than yaar mard aise hi hote hain. Nahi.
No.
Like you need to kind of just go deeper into what kind of a wound that is, because it 100% is a wound. No way is this person, an empathetic, intelligent person, going to be like, yaar, I thought she'd be all right with it. All right with what? Her liberty taken away?
You knew that she wouldn't be all right.
Of course.
With it. So I do understand that. So this is something my mother used to tell me, because there was a family I was very close to. I was one of the boys was my partner at the time and whatnot, and their family made a grave accusation against me.
Jeez.
And completely cut me off. They accused me of theft.
Okay.
And then they completely cut me off, and they were I considered them family. So it was one of those things where I was excusing their behavior a lot, because those boys in that family, the brothers, had gone through a lot of trauma in their life, a lot. And I was excusing it. And then my mother was like, but so have you, and you're kind, and you don't accuse people of shit, and you're not abusive.
Right.
So I think it's just, there's a disconnect, because yes, everyone has trauma and everyone has baggage, but how long will you use that as an excuse to be destructive?
There. And also you cannot allow it to invalidate yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I think
you cannot let yourself be run over by people because of their trauma.
Exactly. You can't. And so there's a difference between being kind and being passive.
Yes.
You can't, you're not a chair. You can't be passive. You're an animate object, right? So you cannot be inanimate and hope to get, you can. People do it. But so I think a large part, society generally, is insidious in that it eats away at you. But insidious because it doesn't do it like just wholesale. So agar aapne koi faisla kiya, if you made a, if you made a conviction, all right, I want to be a yoga teacher, right? Society won't, first off, it'll straight up be like, haan, ye tum galat kar rahi ho. But that's cool, right? Galat kar rahi ho, cool. I'll show you, right? You go on doing it.
Yeah.
They'll ask you for your explanation of why you're doing it 50,000 times. And the 50,000th time, you'll be like, yaar, am I really doing this?
Yeah.
Because that's what happens, right? At 3 a.m. at night when you can't sleep and maybe you haven't been making all this money. It's just an example,
one of those
but
dips and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Happens to everyone.
That's when it really creeps in, where you're like, yaar. And that's when you have to remember that this is a life that was given to you. And, we spoke about gifts and privileges. This is a gift, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So this was given to you. It's no one else's. It's not even your parents or your siblings or your kids. It's your life.
Yes.
It's given to you.
Yes.
And you are responsible for a lot of people, but you are also responsible for yourself.
Yeah, above all.
So you made this choice. You have to live it. You have to stand by it. I think, and lots of people forget that. Lots of very brilliant individuals, because again, it's so passive, na? Yeah, are you sure you should be a yoga teacher? Yeah. But then, okay, at 3 p.m., good. At 5 p.m., good. After iftari, you've had food, good. Raat ke khane ke baad, good. Subah ke 2 baje, am I, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of that.
It's one of those things that somebody had once told me, this is a little bit off of what you're saying, but they had told me that why live one lifetime when you can live many within one?
Sure.
So maybe I'll want to teach yoga for 10 years, and then after that I'll be like, okay, I want to be a doctor. You never know. And why not?
Dude, why not? Why not? And also the only thing again is just make sure that it's financially viable.
Yeah.
As long as it's financially viable,
then
no one gets to tell you. Yeah, no one gets to tell you. That's what I'm saying, right? No one gets to, and especially in today's day and age where a person such as yourself could make most of your money online. Giving yoga classes online, that's a thing. That's really, for someone like you, is a viable option.
Yes.
And people would pay you in dollars even.
Yeah.
And that's why people are doing all those shady accreditation courses.
Yeah, they just want to make quick money.
Quick money, yeah. How do you stop that?
Man, I feel like this is one of those things where people are just trying to survive at this point. A lot of people. Like, it's one of those things where, like, it sucks, but it's the system, you know? But, like, I mean, I just try to spread it wherever I go because, like, I've had students who have taken yoga with me for a few months and they're like, oh, what if I start teaching yoga? And I'm like, okay, but why do you want to teach it? They're like, oh, a little bit of extra money on the side. And I'm like, no, you are a teacher. You're just not teaching at a school, you're teaching yoga, but you're still a teacher. And if that's not something of it's a huge responsibility. So I think for a person, any person's development, a lot of their development came from their parents or grandparents or whoever. And then a lot of their development came from their teachers.
Sure, 100%.
And even as an adult, a lot of your development comes from the teachers you choose. If you decide to learn singing, all of a sudden your singing teacher is like a big part of your life. Your yoga teacher is a big part of your life.
Has to be.
Yeah, so it's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
All you can do is make someone aware of that. Unfortunately, like we cannot change the whole world at once, but one conversation at a time.
One conversation at a time.
And then it spreads.
Yeah, inshallah. Because you're so young, I think this is a fair question. What are the designs moving forward, or do you plan ahead that far? Like once you graduate, right? And ye sab ho jata hai. Are we talking about a yoga studio? Are we thinking about those things at all, or what's going on?
Yeah, so I definitely do see myself opening my own studio, maybe sooner than when I graduate, inshallah.
Inshallah.
But aside from that, I do want to connect with, I do want to create a global connection. Like it would be really nice, again, to either do content on YouTube or something like that where I can connect with others. Because the more you can bring people together, the better, right? People also want a sense of community
100%.
and a sense of belonging.
Sure.
So that's what I want to build, and I want to make this accessible for people. And spread education in terms of, like, even if you don't care to be a teacher, just to understand yourself a little bit more. And understand your own body a little bit more. I want to bring that to people because just like for me, when I started understanding myself more as a person and as a soul, it changed how I interact with others. It changed my relationships, my friendships, the way I work, everything. So I see a more online presence as a bigger goal of mine.
You want to get on TikTok?
Yeah.
Dude,
that's the conclusion here.
I mean, listen, man. TikTok is brilliant.
By the way, fitness TikTok right now is pretty hyped up. Like it's
यहाँ पे बाहर का तो बहुत अच्छा है.
Yeah.
बाहर का तो actually बहुत अच्छा है. Even in the intellectual stuff, बाहर का is बहुत अच्छा है.
Yeah,
यहाँ
yeah.
पे, what are you gonna do? यहाँ पे, you know, it's a frustrated populace, and you know, we've made no efforts personally, or at least I haven't in my capacity, but we've made no efforts to, you know, educate or any of those things. So यहाँ पे तो not as good, but bahar to, like,
yeah, it's really good abroad.
Yeah, one of the best ways to, I think, reach out in terms of your content, Instagram, TikTok, and then YouTube for long form.
Yeah.
Like 10 minute plus,
Yeah.
12 minute plus, but short
I
form.
agree.
Yeah. And so social media outreach first, but then eventually a studio.
I think they're going to go hand in hand.
You think they're going to go hand in hand?
Yeah, that's what I see. Because
Interesting.
I don't see the studio being too far off now. Yeah.
Sure.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
According to my finances.
Finances. Just that. That's awesome. That really is, mashallah, awesome. And then, so what happens to the degree that you're doing? You just leave it to the side?
Honestly, the degree was quite delayed. I didn't get to go to university right away because of finances.
Okay.
So it started off quite late, and it was one of those things where I'm doing it for myself now, because I think just about last year, again, I was like, I've always lived for other people. I always lived for my mother, and then I lived for my younger sisters. So I was like, what happens if I start living for myself?
Are you the eldest?
Yeah.
Called it.
Yeah, because you're like a therapist and you psychoanalyze me.
No, I'm also the eldest. Just like a...
That's why we get along so
Yeah,
well.
like
That's
picks
why we're
up
so
like-
damaged.
I'm not damaged at all.
No, we're not damaged.
No.
We're great.
But I think that also opens up the door to a wider conversation about why the eldest is often put through the ringer, because I don't think parents know what they're doing.
So that is the thing. Every parent, most parents are doing their best.
Sure.
What I think the issue is, in our population specifically, I would say, is that a lot of marriages are not healthy in our
Mm-hmm.
last generation. They're not healthy. Usually the woman is not happy.
Mm-mm.
The mother is not happy.
Yep.
Being the eldest sibling, and I'm sure you can explain this better than I can, but the mother, I know so many moms, my own mother has shown signs of this, like a little bit of regression where they become very childlike with
Yeah.
the eldest sibling.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I already have my 2 younger sisters as my kids, and now my mother is also my
Yeah.
child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's very, very heavy for
Dude,
a
it's
child.
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking
right? Yeah.
because it's like the only thing you want. This is your mother. You love her to death. The only thing you want is for her to be happy
That's it.
in life.
That's it.
And the thing is, you can't provide that happiness.
You absolutely cannot. You can't, and it's one of the most heartbreaking realizations that you will ever, and you will have to at some point come face to face with it, and you're going to keep trying.
Yeah, you're
You know, of course.
on and off for the rest of her life.
Of course, you're going to keep trying, right? Allah unko hayati de.
Because I think that's also in our population specifically is that the mother tends to make her children her life.
Yeah, because you know what? You're
And-
absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I was doing a podcast with Maria Sumro, who is a backpacker and traveler and stuff, and she told me this one story. She's like, I was backpacking across Turkey, and I meet this person. She's 80 years old. This lady, she's 80 years old, and I meet her at one of these backpacking conventions or something. We were all going somewhere, and. So Maria asked this person. Maria's like, so what are you looking forward to? This lady's 80 years old. She's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to my husband passing away, because then I can finally go for a world tour. At 80, her life's not over. Right? At 80, she's like, dude, I got stuff to do, man.
Yeah.
And her husband's right next to her. He's like 90 or something. He's laughing his butt off. He's just like, yeah, of course, you won't take me. It's just beautiful, right?
Cute.
But that's normal. You understand? That's normal, because she has her life. Her life is not her kids. Her life is not this marriage. Her life is not anything. It's her life.
Yeah. But here it's not that.
It's not that.
And what it is like, this is something I just saw online, but it resonated so much. It was like, who is your mother outside of being your mother? Who is this lady?
Yeah.
Like my mom's name is Feroza. So it's like, okay, who is Feroza outside of being Taabir's mother?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think she knows.
That's the problem. You don't have to know, but she needs to.
Yeah.
Right? She needs to understand that she is so much more than just.
Yeah.
And more, I'm obviously speaking to every mom out there.
Yes,
you are
this is for every mother.
Yeah, you are so much bigger, so much greater than someone's wife and someone's mom.
Yeah, you're a whole person.
A whole
man,
person,
with,
and a brilliant one at that.
with
right?
hobbies and interests and likes and dislikes and a
exactly.
story,
Opinions, dude.
opinions.
Yeah, like they won't bother with opinions because again they want to preserve that cognitive capital and put it into their kids. But the thing is, you will be a better mother if you're kinder to yourself. It's difficult, I know, because आपको लग रहा होता है कि पूरा मैं अगर सारा time अपने बच्चे को नहीं दे रही हूँ, I'm somehow doing them a disservice. You're really not. We spoke about gifts and stuff.
It's also
Really not.
it also comes into the toxic marriages that are present in our society. That I don't want to leave this man because then my kids won't have an active father figure
Or inheritance.
or finances or whatever. But it's like, okay, but as your daughter, or this is for, again, any family, not particular to my family, but it's like, okay, but you're also teaching your children that it's okay to suffer like this in a marriage.
That's it. And that's heavy, right? Because
For
again,
a majority of your life.
yeah, because again, like to them, think about the fact that they're making the ultimate sacrifice, right? They don't understand, they don't see a way out, right? And to tell them, again, one of the most difficult conversations you'll have, but to again let them get to that conclusion themselves कि यार आप जो है अपने साथ जाती कर रहे हो और दूसरे बंदे की जाती बर्दाश्त कर रहे हो, and also it will probably be in vain because then you're also teaching your kids who again look up to you in every way, shape or form. And this again, there are psychotherapeutic approaches that say exactly this. They're called object relations theories. And read them at your own discretion. I am not an expert and you won't be either if you read a book or 50. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's theories that say that the primary caregiver is the object that a child forms their worldview around, which is the mom,
Yes.
And so the way they see their mom go through life is all important, right? Because they learn most things from that. And so to just have that object be ridiculed and bullied and, or anything worse, Allah Rahm Kare, is...
And that object just takes it also.
Oh, it just takes it and is passive and, it says it's all right. Sure. And you know what? It might teach the child patience. It might, right? But what if the child is a man? What if the child goes, कि यार, this is the best woman that's ever existed. और जब इनके लिए भी ये सब मार खाना जायज़ था, तो मेरी बीवी क्या बेचती है यार? या मेरी बहनें क्या बेचती हैं? या कोई भी और औरत? Some random woman in the street, वो क्यों नहीं? वो भी उसके लिए भी जायज़ है ना मार खाना. But the thing is, you have it backward. आपकी वालदा के लिए भी नहीं था जायज़ खाना, ये मार खाना. तो इन सब लोगों की तो बिल्कुल नहीं है.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, because the thing is, it's वो वाली आप वाली बात. It's so easy to just say this.
Yeah.
As two people who, like, alhamdulillah, have had wonderful teachers and education and everything, it's so easy to say this. But how do you have this conversation with, I don't know, an 18-year-old asking for a blowjob on an Instagram live? How do you have this conversation?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
They're not going to be receptive. You're also not in the mindset to be like, hey, like, what was your relationship with your mother, sir?
Yeah. What wounded you, actually? Do you know what I mean?
Did your father ever hug you?
Probably not. I was quite mean to this guy, by the way. I was like, क्यों आपसे दूसरी रोटी नहीं पूछी घर पे किसी ने? Because that actually affects you. It really does. Speaking of food, how many people that you train have a problematic relationship with food?
Oh my God, almost everyone. Even myself for quite some time.
You want to say 95?
Yeah.
Safe to say 95 at least?
Yeah.
95% of the people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. Well, one, all of us tend to have an emotional bond to food, right? I mean, food has always been around happy times, and then as you grow older, it comes around sad times, your breakups and whatnot, and your.
मैं तो खैर sad होता नहीं हूँ.
Yeah, you're a man. You don't have feelings, no.
No.
Yeah, I knew that. It's okay.
Yeah, I just मतलब जब मैं 8,000 calories खा रहा था, I was just doing it to show the food who was boss.
Yeah,
Me.
alpha male.
Of course.
Yeah.
3 large pizzas.
I'll show you.
But yeah, please continue.
Yeah, and then on top of that, also the restriction. Well, this is very just scientific and physiological, but the intense restriction, your body just goes into, for lack of a better term, it's not survival mode in that sense. It's more so just psychological, because your hunger hormones and satiety hormones go haywire.
Yep.
So then you binge, and you binge like crazy, and it's not your willpower that you don't have enough willpower. Your body is just like, oh my God, I don't know when I'm going to get food again. So eat.
That's it.
And this develops a binge restrict cycle. It's not so much binge purge, I think, that much anymore, but binge restrict happens a lot for people in the fitness and the gym world here.
Sure.
Everyone does this. They binge like crazy for one night, and then the next day they don't eat the next day.
Yeah.
Or they work out like for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But what happens is over time they gain weight.
Of course they're going to win. Yeah.
You're still in a surplus.
Of course you are. Yeah. How though do you go about having, like, just saying that to them? Because it's such a personal thing, food is. How do you open that conversation up?
So firstly, I think for most people actually, they're unaware in the sense that they tend to underestimate the calories they eat anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And they tend to overestimate the calories burned during exercise.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
They 100% absolutely do.
So
मैं 1 घंटा वर्कआउट किया, कम से कम 1500 कैलोरीज तो हो गई होंगी. आपकी सोच है 1500 कैलोरीज बर्न कैसे होती है?
And this is the same for hard gainers, even skinny dudes who are like, I eat so much. I'm like, how much do you eat? You don't.
They don't eat so much.
Yeah.
आधा 6-inch Subway खाया यार, मैं बहुत खा लिया.
Yeah. Oh my God, I had so much food today.
Please.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, you really didn't.
I had like 2 footlongs, yeah.
That's another problem. What?
I'll show you who's boss.
Subway? मैं दिखाती हूँ. Sorry.
But yeah, so I actually just, this is just a basic coaching thing, is that I make them write down exactly what they're eating for a couple of days, just a food diary. Not calorie counting, not MyFitnessPal, but just generally what you ate. I had 1 cookie of this size. I had 1 6-inch Subway sandwich with this sauce and these vegetables. And then we sit back after a week and I'm like, do you really think you're eating 1,000 calories, dude? I mean, should we sit and calculate? And they're like, oh shit, I'm eating 5,000. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I suppose it becomes easier to have the conversation of, अब फिर थोड़ा कम कर ले, देखते हैं,
Yeah.
try करते हैं.
Yeah, and those who are emotional eaters, then we just find, honestly, like very easy changes sometimes, dude. Like, okay, or if you're like sad at night, how about you order some soup instead of like this? Just see what happens, because a lot of times it's the action of eating.
Sure.
It's not so much the taste.
No, of course.
Because after a few bites of it, that dopamine mechanism it's not firing so hard that it feels as good as the first bite of ice
Sure.
cream. So I was like, if it's really, for most people, it is just the mechanism of eating. So how about you have some vegetable soup?
Yeah,
And
try it.
they're like, that's stupid, but they try it, and it's like they're losing weight.
Yeah.
And as you lose weight, so sorry to interrupt,
No.
but it's that loop that people want. They want motivation before they start working, but a lot of the times you have to start working, and then when you start getting results, the motivation comes.
That's it.
So that starts to heal the relationship with food.
That's it. That cycle, right? And that's what I was saying about even yoga is if you wake up and do something difficult, physically strenuous, first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
you would be surprised about how good you feel.
Yes.
You would be surprised. Like there's all sorts of people that are like, yeah, motivated or not. When I wake up in the morning, I'm putting my shoes on and going
It's
for a
discipline,
run.
yeah.
It's not about motivation. It's not about it's about feeling good. It's a selfish thing. Also ये भी ना सोचो कि virtuous चीज़ है मैंने abs करने और फिर मैं Socrates बन जाऊँगा. Please, dude. It's about you.
Yeah.
And you need to again prioritize yourself. Lots of people don't work out because they want to shrink away from causing inconvenience. Dude, listen, you're taking care of yourself. इससे ज़्यादा मतलब क्या हो सकता है?
Yeah, even people who are like I have a couple people in my life who are like, I'm too busy to work out. And I'm like, okay, but then what are you doing for yourself in life? Like, what are you offering to yourself? What have you done that serves you today?
They're too busy though, Taabir. They're too busy for like a 15-minute workout.
Exactly, yeah.
No, matlab, okay,
No,
so
they're not, because these are the same people. Like, we also don't realize how much time we waste in terms of like again, this is gonna sound so cliche, but scrolling on Instagram or just laying there or whatever, we waste a lot of time. But obviously, it's because we're drained as people, right? We're fucking tired.
oh yeah, we're tired.
If you're someone like you and me who like work a lot, so in that sense, like, I understand, because I also fall into that loop. But if you do push yourself and you do even get on your mat and stretch or like go for a walk, all of a sudden your mind is a lot more clear and you feel more awake than you did when you were scrolling through your phone.
100%.
Because again, it's that whole dopamine like game.
100%. Achha, ek cheez I will say this. I think if you just make simple changes in your life where आपके workout shoes सामने पड़े हुए हैं,
Those little small changes,
they
habit
do work.
stacking and
Yeah,
all, they do.
They do work. So before I lived here, I used to live in phase 8. Phase 8 में I used to live so deep into phase 8 कि वहाँ पे basically और कोई घर नहीं थे. So I could do tire flips outside.
Oh,
So I would just leave. So my brother had all these heavy tires, 250 kilo, 350 kilo ka bhi tha, but those were like, you need warm up and all that stuff just to lift them, right? But there was a 150 kilo tire, and that's a sweet spot for me. 150 kilo tire, alhamdulillah, for me is very easy.
okay.
So I would just leave that out there because I wasn't bothering anyone. No one was using that road. I would just leave that out there. So when I started working out and losing weight, I basically, for the better part of 8 months, worked out every day. Every day for
That's amazing.
Alhamdulillah, I took a break day before yesterday. For the first time in 8 months, right?
Wow.
8 months every day, and I would make videos. Most of them, people know this because I would make videos on Instagram for most of those days. So it wouldn't be anything. Sometimes I'd put music on. Sometimes I wouldn't even put music on. It'd just be me breathing heavy,
Love
flipping tires, just whatever. And it was just me working out, I think 8 months non-stop. Eid ke din, my birthday, someone else's marriage, my marriage. No, I'm not married. I'm sorry, I'm joking. But whatever, just a workout. And to our point, what we're saying, most of the times it was just about me putting my shoes on and just being there.
Yeah,
Because
just
फिर
show up.
हाँ फिर कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा,
Yeah.
But yeah, ideally just everyone buy a 150 kilo ka tire. And,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then leave it outside your house.
Yeah, on the road.
Of course. What else are you gonna do? Can't
Otherwise,
take it
you're never
inside.
going to get fit.
Never ever.
This is the only way.
It's the only way. It really is the only way. Eat large pizzas and flip tires.
Yes.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
Really?
I agree.
Yeah, है ना? आपके पास भी है ना 150 किलो का
Yeah,
tag?
yeah, yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not as fit as you, of course. So like,
आप क्या
I don't eat as
120
much.
किलो का है?
Yeah, and then I don't eat as much pizza. I can't.
Why are you? मतलब.
I don't know, man. I'm rethinking my
Yeah,
career
I mean, do you
now.
even want to succeed?
I don't know. I think I need to rethink my entire career tonight at 3 a.m.
Of
I'm
course.
gonna be.
Yeah, at 3 a.m. though, not
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
No.
अभी time है.
Yeah.
अभी time है.
Yeah, I should feel secure right
Yeah,
now.
अभी आप सही हो. But at 3 a.m., you definitely need to do that. I think before we end the podcast, any interesting experiences with like people who are famous for being fit, but then you get to them and you're like, oh wait, you've been lying to a lot of people. Don't name them.
Oh.
But yeah, you don't have to name them. Come on.
Exposed.
Yeah.
Takes out a list.
Oh, yeah, funny you should ask. This is why I'm here.
Oh my god. So there's there's a couple of very well-known trainers. The issue is so a lot of trainers here, in terms of workouts, they'll put together strange, obscure exercises. They'll be like, oh, burpee, plank, in the plank, grab a dumbbell, do a bicep curl.
Or master tire flip.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I can't do this. Like,
Yeah.
And they're making people do this who have no body awareness, are office goers, this, that, and the other. And these people, 90% of their people get injured,
Oh,
and they
no.
come to our gym or my yoga studio and they're like, this hurts, that hurts. I'm like, let me guess where you came from.
Yeah, sure.
You
sure.
know? So it's one of those things. And I just, the reason they do it is because in our fitness culture here, like people who come to work out from their offices or whatever, they just want you to exhaust them. I should be drenched in sweat.
What's it called? Metabolic fatigue, है ना? ऐसा कुछ होता है ना
and
होता
I'm
है
like,
इसका?
no, stop it.
Yeah.
Especially in the gym, like if you're just doing a workout, again, a very effective gym workout will be boring and the same thing over and over again, and you might not sweat that much.
Yeah, that's it.
Depends on
You
your
might not
genetics.
sweat so much, and it's monotonous and it's boring, and that's why you put on music. You think if it was stimulating, you think we'd need music. You think we'd need anything? Training partners?
Yeah.
Why would you need all that stuff?
Exactly.
Okay, but again, there's also that element of instant gratification now.
Yeah. Because you're like drenched in sweat, you're exhausted. And so that's great. I think you can get that from, occasionally doing something like that. But if that's your daily workout and your trainer is not paying attention to your form, and it's not just form, by the way. So you can do a squat and not feel anything.
Yeah.
And then you can do a squat and properly engage muscles. It feels completely different.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
to teach someone who has no body awareness to build that body awareness, if you're not doing that, again, then what are you doing? You're not effective as a trainer then.
Well, that, and also I think you as a trainer also need to understand that body image issues are a thing, and
Yes.
genetics are a thing, and these people come to you, they show you a photo. Who is
I
this
wanna look
photo
like
of?
this.
This is the photo of Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Who is 5% body fat,
Yeah.
and gets paid to be this way.
Yes.
Right? And they're like, मुझे ये बनना है. I think it is in such bad faith that you would tell this person कि हाँ ऐसा हो जाएगा.
Yeah, why would you do that? Why would you lie in that way? It's also not just that, like they're paid to do it, but a lot of these people are genetically gifted.
Sure. Sure.
Even if you ate exactly like them and trained exactly
Still
like
wouldn't,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, even if you got there, your hunger hormones might be all over the place. You might be hungry all the time, whereas this guy's not.
Yeah.
Or you might have joint pain all of a sudden because you've fallen into a deficiency, whereas this person did not.
Sure.
So all of these things, again, it's just that awareness and that education of yourself and taking your own career seriously
That's it.
in terms of the value it provides others, not just the money.
But Taabir, एक और मसला ये भी है ना यहाँ पे कि so for instance, if I came to you and I'm like, Taabir, मुझे ऐसा दिखना है, right? And you do what you're supposed to. You tell me कि यार देखो genetics, financial goals and ramifications of that sort, the time he invests into his body versus the time you can give your body and stuff, diet, meal plans, all that stuff. 90% of the times what will happen is I'm like, oh cool, so you're not going to give me what I want. I'll just
I'll
go to someone
else.
Yeah. And there's people perfectly willing to take my money and promise me that I will become Cristiano Ronaldo in a matter of months, not even years, right? How do you combat that? Like
so that, and along with the keto diet and all of these things,
the diet fads, yeah.
I do my best to like explain.
Mhm.
And if they don't listen, I either say that, okay, I will do what you are telling me to do, but I do not recommend it.
Okay.
Or they will leave and they'll go to somebody else. And then they'll come back
And they'll hurt, right?
injured. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I really wish that this hadn't hadn't happened. If it's in terms of crash dieting, then they've damaged their metabolism
Allah raham kare,
for
yeah.
a certain amount of time. And again, that's your genetics, how long that damage is going to stay in your metabolism. So there's that. Their confidence is completely shot. If the workouts are crazy, if you were trying to work out like this guy or that guy, then you're injured.
Yeah.
So I don't wish that upon anyone, but sometimes people have to learn for themselves also.
Yeah.
You just have to, I think, I just have to believe in myself as a teacher that I'm doing my best. I'm trying to spread education, again, one conversation at a time, and
Inshallah.
hopefully it'll spread.
Yeah.
You know, and it is getting better in some places. Like abroad, people are starting to become more educated. I think we'll also get there at some
Yeah.
point. Inshallah.
Yeah. Inshallah. Right. With that hopeful note, I think, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. For now, yeah.
No, yeah. For now, until next time, inshallah. This is a good place.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Please. So you're on YouTube?
I am not yet. I'm on
यार ये क्या
Instagram.
तरीका है यार मतलब
Toxic positivity.
I need to talk to you after this. Instagram बताएं?
It's just Taabir. It's TAABIR _
_
Yes.
Taabir _ I will also put a link. And you're not on TikTok?
No.
Acha.
I feel like I'm going to get attacked.
You just scolded is what you're going to get. ठीक है. So you're on Instagram right now. No website, nothing. And
No,
please,
nothing,
please also tell me where you teach yoga.
At Yoga Lift.
At Yoga Lift. And yes, they should just get in touch on the Instagram page, your Instagram page, or Yoga Lift ka jaisa bhi ho
Yeah.
jayega inshallah. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
This was really fun.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope that at the end of the day, I inculcate in at least one person, if not more, ki yaar, if we don't talk to each other, we're gone.
Yeah.
I was going to use a bad word, but
Oh.
stop
Okay.
myself. Flex my morality. No, I'm joking. Allah raham karega. But yeah, so come back whenever, inshallah. And then, yeah, let's...
Watch me just be here every day and it's just us talking.
Ha.
The next 50 podcasts are just my face.
Just your face and just talking absolute trash about everyone else. यार ये जो कीटो वाले होते हैं ना सारे फजूल होते हैं सारे
Oh my god, you're just gonna get cancelled after this.
अल्लाह रहम करेगा इंशाल्लाह. ताबीर, काजी अकबर, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.